On his first day in Botswana, Harry made a huge mistake. He announced that his support for Greta Thunberg. Harry highlighted the work of 16-year-old Greta and said, "This last week, led by Greta, the world's children are striking." He also said that saving the environment is a race against time and that no one can argue against science. Well, I don't know what or which school Harry and Greta attended, but science is actually arguing with them. Firstly, to date, there is no accurate scientific model which can accurately predict how much the climate will change over 10, 20, or even 100 years. One of the reasons why scientists cannot predict changes in the climate is because the Earth is not static. The Earth turns on its own axis and follows a path or orbit around the Sun. The Earth is surrounded by other planets, stars, asteroids, and is minute in terms of not only our own solar system, but also in terms of the universe. Any change in our solar system or the universe can potentially change Earth's course around the Sun, and thus our climate. Honestly, the freaking dinosaurs died out largely because of a change in Earth's climate, and there was no aeroplanes, trains, or even motorcars then. Thirdly, there's a vast difference between resources and climate. It is true that as the population grows, the more resources are used, and it is true that vast shortages may occur in the future, and even in some places have already occurred, mostly due to ignorance and mismanagement, and not due to climate change. I can continue and give the viewers an hour-long lesson in geography, but I think you all know how to do your own research. However, from what I have just said, I think it's fair to deduce that the most important factor in saving Earth's resources and reducing the minimal impact we may have on climate change even further is education. For Prince Harry to thus endorse Greta for inciting the youth to strike is more dangerous to the environment than you or I taking our annual holiday using a plane, a train, or a car. So let's talk about Harry and mental health. Mental health includes our emotions, psychological and social well-being. Factors contributing to mental health problems include biological factors, your genes or your brain chemistry, life experiences such as trauma and abuse. The main groups of mental disorders are mood disorders such as depression or bipolar disorder and anxiety disorders, personality disorders, psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, eating disorders, trauma-related disorders such as post-traumatic stress, and substance abuse disorders. Harry readily admits to suffering from depression. So what caused depression? Genetics. Depression can be an inherited trait. Although there is talk that Diana suffered from depression, it appears as if her depression was more due to situations and that she was able to bounce back at a normal pace. Charles had never admitted to abnormal bouts of depression. Hormones. During or after pregnancy, during menopause, etc. This is not for you, Harry. Recent events, such as losing a job or bad news, and Harry's mother passed away 25 years ago. Although usually other factors need to be present to transform normal stress and sadness into full-blown depression. Long-term stress, like abusive relationships. Personally, I think this may be applicable to Harry, but let's continue. Long-term stress, constant work. Not you, Harry. You take more than enough time off. And do not go to work every morning like normal human beings. And prolonged isolation. This, however, may be true if it is true that Meghan is actually isolating Harry. Personality. low self-esteem, self-critical, or being oversensitive to criticism. We all know Harry is oversensitive to criticism. We also know that he could quite possibly suffer from low self-esteem, as he may be jealous of his older brother. And this may have come along for a long time. His brother being called the future king, and him just being the extra, like he himself said. Serious illness. We do not know of any serious illness that Harry may suffer from. Drug and alcohol abuse. Rumors, photographs, newspaper reports of Harry's drug and alcohol abuse have been shown to the public. Changes in the brain, like abnormal levels of neurotransmitters, your brain chemicals. Antidepressants are very successful in restoring the balance of chemicals in the brain. So drink your pills, Harry. Harry would thus do better to consult a doctor, a psychologist, and enter into long-term treatment than to whinge about his mental health on television, in magazines, or in any documentary. As help is widely available and top-notch help for the rich who can afford to pay for it, can only be the best. Mental health issues are serious and should never be used as an excuse for bad behavior, and should never become fashionable to the extent that false flags are raised inappropriately. Harry and the race card. If ever I wanted to sock Harry in the kisser, it was when he made that ridiculous comment about unconscious bias with regards to racism. Harry, someone is racist or they're not. End of story. To eradicate racism, it is essential that humans view each other by looking into each other's souls, and basically to become colorblind. By harping on an issue, and particularly to hide it in a bowl of delicious-looking word salad, is not the way to eradicate racism. To use racism as an excuse for bad behavior and rudeness is also not the correct way. Harry's appearance. Harry has changed from a proud soldier and royal to looking like the great unwashed. Making a speech at the climate change summit barefoot is not only unroyal, but just plain bizarre. Harry and his hypocrisy. Harry, pulling the climate change and race card, is just rich. Has he forgotten the swastika insignia on his costume and racist remarks about an army buddy? With the exception of probably Prince Philip, Harry is the royal who has probably made the most racist gaffes of all the royals. Then we all know that regardless of his climate change card, that he had flown private jets to go on holiday, had Land Rovers flown to South Africa, etc. In part 3, I shall pull Meghan's personality disorder and Harry's actions together and explain why they pose a huge danger to society. Watch out for some interesting posts and articles in that one. You will be stunned by humanity's madness. Thank you for watching. See you next time.